Hello, everyone. Back with a fireplace. I found an even nicer one now. We've got a cat and a kettle. We're gonna read some creepy pastas tonight. We're not on the creepypasta wiki. We are on creepypasta.com. This is creepypasta.com. Sorry for the slightly zoomed in view of it. It's actually not that bad though, because it kind of only uses the middle of the screen. Now, it's basically impossible to find anything on this website because it's written like this. Don't know if you saw Mario in the corner, but he was there. Yeah, so this is what the website looks like. And it means that, it's kind of tricky to find one that I want to have, to peruse these and find ones that I want to get more information on. Formatting's not great. There is, however, a random story page. I have accidentally opened Microsoft Excel. Okay. we got rid of that, it's fine. So I'm gonna be doing that. I have a secret second window. I investigate disturbing G cases. True. So on my secret window, does the fire keep moving? It does. Okay, I hit the button. We've got how does the story end? Which is rated 8.74 out of 10. Estimated reading time of 13 minutes. That's handy. Fire's moving. Still moving. Good job, fire. The three of us sit together in my backyard. Beer bottles spread all around our little triangle. Leftover garbage from the sandwiches we ate earlier accompany those same beer bottles. I personally prefer Modelo, but all Santiago managed to bring us were some lukewarm, probably decade-old Mexican beers that tasted as awful as they looked. Halfway through drinking my second round, I thought I was chugging down piss. Still, booze is booze. Glad you enjoy the creepypasta voice. This tastes like ass, and not the good kind, Santiago says, belches and then spits. Yuck. Last time you're providing the beverages. Not the good ass, the bad ass. I say. God, I rather drink mercury. I peer over at Elena and see that she has barely touched her own drink. By the disgusted look on her face, I can tell she feels the same way. The true horror is bad beer. That doesn't taste like good ass. One of the last nights of summer vacation, Elena starts, and I'm spending it with you dogs, drinking this crap. Ugh, don't remind me, Santi complains. Why the hell does school have to start next week? I mean, it's senior year, guys, I remind them. Shit is going to be alright, and honestly, we should be enjoying these moments right now. God knows when we can all fuck around like this anymore. You have a point, Santi says. I'm not looking forward to seeing some of the people there, though. It's just a comma before though. Bitches there just irritate me sometimes, and the guys are just as annoying. Sorry about how horrible this is. Thanks for playing that bean, Travis. Sarah! We're doing creepypasta tonight. Hi, Sarah. Hi, gang. How are you doing? Once again, Santi finds the perfect words to express my feelings. If anything, high school has brought my cousins and me closer. Since the three of us are practically the same age, and the fact that we all attend the same institution, we've grown attached to one another. It was perfect that way. Hi, Sarah and gang. How'd Star Trek go? Star Trek The Old Republic. How'd Battlestar Galactica Knights of the Old Republic go? We spend... Thank you, Sarah. Hi, Scenarios. Thanks for the 8 months, Sarah. It's ludicrous. Yo, I'm coming up on 12 months affiliate. I'm 10 months affiliate. Battlestar Trek Galactica was wonderful. Good to hear it. Game looks cool, even though it looks weird and old and difficult. We spent most of the night chatting and laughing, all while the moon crawls away from my backyard and its light disappears with it. It starts to get too dark for comfort, however, and we know eventually someone would need to make the annoying trip of turning on the lamplight. Neither one of us wants to go, however. We're just gonna keep doing that. But as always, the darkness eventually becomes menacing. Alright, I ain't getting up to turn on the lights, Santi states. 1, 2, 3, not it. Not it, I hear Elena shout, while my words seem stuck on my tongue. I hate when that happens. It's so dark you can't hear though, so we don't even know who stabs in what. Damn it, that ain't fair, I say. Elena snorts and laughs. Whatever. I stand up and drag myself to... I can't say whatever, written in italics, without turning in the squall. I stand up and drag myself towards the lamp. It hangs above Elena like a loose tooth. I flick the switch on, and a dim, yellow light pours all over the backyard. Why are we... Oh, are we on the backyard? I return to my seat. What now, then? Some interesting placements of commas in this one. We all exchange looks of perplexity, unable to think of something to entertain ourselves. Hi, Legious, by the way. We made one simple rule whenever the three of us head downstairs to the backyard, and that is absolutely no cell phones. We will not allow our phones to distract ourselves from interacting with one another. I mean, it is getting late, I begin. How about we share some stories? I stress that last word out with a malicious tone. My cousins glance at me, and I raise my eyebrows to add more emphasis. Yeah, absolutely. No cell phones. They stare at each other for a quick second, and begin to giggle like kids who just broke an expensive vase and are lying about it. Hey, I say, what's so damn funny? Don't be excluding me in any insiders, you bastards. It's nothing really, Elena says, but continues to giggle whenever she looks at Santi. Stop looking at me! You stop! Santi laughs. I have no idea who's talking. You're both acting like a bunch of bitches, I grunt. Come on! I want to know what's going on. Well, it's funny you should mention that, Santi says. It just so happens that Elena and I have the scariest story you will ever hear. I have a story? Elena nearly screams. I wish that I'd known that was nearly screaming before I read it. It's just a question mark. Santi and I both shush her and remind her that we're outside where the damn neighbors are trying to sleep. What's happening? How do I nearly scream, I have a story? Again, there's people asleep in this house. Sorry, but anyways. She points at Santi. You're the one that told me it. What? You have a story? And it's a scary one? I ask, a bit astonished. Well then, I can't wait to hear this. I sometimes wonder how we acquired this deep love for the macabre, but when it comes down to it, I know it derives from the way our environment raised us. We grew up with Chucky, The Ring, the Saw series, and that's just scratching the surface of all the other scary shit our developing minds absorbed over the years. Now, if this were an earnest novel, we'd get at least 2 full pages of just horror properties that have been released. But we also need to give credit to our folks. Of course. Our tradition to pass around horror stories like goodies on Halloween originated from our parents and their own siblings and cousins. They used to all gather together, just how I'm doing right now, and share whatever imaginative tales plunged out of their minds. I hate when tales plunge out of my mind. This story is just a lot of words about nothing, man. Yeah, man, Santi says. And trust me when I say this, it's really fucking terrifying. You sure about that? I question my cousin. I don't know, man. I've seen some pretty fucked up shit. I'm more than positive, dude, Santi says. This shit will make you piss yourself. Have you heard this story already, Elena? I ask. She nods her head while smiling. For real? What'd you think of it then? I mean, Elena starts. Honestly, crying and pissing and shitting again. That's what's gonna happen when you hear this story, so everyone brace yourselves. Honestly, for someone like Santi who never ever told a good scary story, it's pretty freaking horrifying. First thing first, I say, is this story real or fake? I don't know, Santi snickers. I guess you have to wait and hear it for yourself. Don't be such an asshole, dude, I say. You know you always gotta clarify if what we're about to hear is either true or not. It prepares us for whatever emotional wreckage we may or may not feel. Well, how about this? I'll tell you my amazing story if you tell me a real scary story yourself. You must have a new one involving your haunted house. Elena twitches in her seat. See? Why you gotta say that? Now Elena's all scared and shit. I nudge her with my elbow. You know, to be the annoying primo she knows and loves. Elena gives off an irritated smile. This time we really pissed her off. What is happening? She has every right to be scared. Like, what the fuck? Your house is freaking creepy, Santi says. Pasta made by... I think I prefer pasta made by 6-year-olds rather than 12-year-olds. Yeah. I love it when it's written by like a real little kid and they're like... talking about like, I don't know. They're investigating the weird thing and they're doing a bunch of stuff and then they have to call the mom to pick them up or something. Or the mom comes in the room and ruins everything. And that's the tell. This could be earnest, but there wasn't enough references. Also, Ernest doesn't use this many commas. All the commas from Armada have ended up in this story. All the commas that should have been in Armada. I don't blame Elena for feeling the way she feels. My house grew a reputation of it being haunted around the time we attended middle school. This was the sort of thing that made me special among my friends at the time. I guess you can say this also added to my overall love for horror, in a weird sort of way. Not just horror, but the absolute emotion that is fear. Some might hate it, but people like my cousins and I are addicted to that feeling. We love the way it crawls deep inside our skin, turns our blood cold, raises the hairs on our arms, and enervate our minds beyond measures. You're still shook after what happened? I asked my prima. Interesting. Well, no duh. How can I not be? That was probably the scariest thing that ever happened to me. Elena shivers, even though earlier in the night she kept on yapping on and on about how it was hot outside. Okay, see you, Sarah. I still think you slept walk, Santi says. I mean, what other explanation do you have? I've never slept walk before in my life. I shush Elena again and smack her knee as punishment. It's poor lady. Sorry again, but still. Somebody carried me to the guest room, and it wasn't anyone in the house. I asked everybody, and they all said they did no such thing. That damn ghost, or demon, in Georgie's house scooped me up. Now I'm scared thinking about it. Perfect, I say. I thought that was... I never know who's talking. If a character does an action and then in the same paragraph there's dialogue, that should be from the same character who did the action, especially if it doesn't say who said it. Now that the mood is set, let's hear that amazing story of yours, bro. I hope we actually do a story or something. Something occurs. It said 13 minutes. I'm alright. Maybe random was a bad idea. Santi mumbles. Okay, fine. I throw my hands up in the air and scream in delight. Why are we throwing our hands up in the air and screaming in delight? This time Elena tells me to shut the fuck up. Okay, here's how it starts. Off in the distance we hear the sound of leaves crunching. This noise immediately shuts everyone up. I hold my breath and gaze around my backyard. Elena and Santi follow my eyes, although nobody says it. We all feel a bit intimidated by the turn of events, the leaf sound. The noise erupts again. Leaf sounds, rustling, gentle rustling noise on the breeze. This time, Elena gasps and jumps from her seat, as you do when leaves move. I look at Elena and raise a single finger to my lips. This is the second time this lady's been shushed in this story. Santi fixes his eyes near one of the entrances to my backyard. I think it came from over there. I was thinking the same thing, I say, but I'm not too sure. You think it's an animal? Probably, Santi says. Who's going to check it out? Last time some skunks or raccoons or whatever the fuck dug inside your trash cans and made a complete mess. I doubt your father will let it slide a second time. You know how he can be. Maybe we should send Elena to go. I tease her, but in a kind-hearted attempt to alleviate everyone's unreasonable fear. Nuh-uh, Elena shakes her head. Count me out on that. Well, I already got up to turn on the lamplight, I state. So I guess that leaves you, huh, Santi? I hate you both, he mutters as he picks himself up. Fire, stop moving. Fire. Fire, I'm watching you. Keep moving, Fire. I think I turned it back on. It'll probably do that every now and then. It's fine. I hate you both, he mutters as he picks himself up and moves towards the gate. Santi pulls the small switch open, its rusty hinges squeaking as loud as a pig getting slaughtered, and maunders out of my backyard. Elena and I sit in silence as we wait for him to return. The wind blows harder as time passes by. Yellow and green leaves rain and billow all over the air. All over the air. They land on the ground, forming large piles. That reminds me of autumn approaching. We should have brought blankets. I break the quietness. What's taking this kid so long? Elena asks. We rear closer to where Santi left and try to listen in on what he's doing. We hear nothing but the rushing of cars outside. This worries me a bit. Okay, Elena says. What the hell happened to... Boo! Santi jumps in between Elena and I. I reel back in surprise, a scream of despair caught inside my throat. Elena, on the other hand, unleashes a cry as loud as a jet engine. She stumbles backwards, loses her balance, and falls back on her chair. Santi and I watch in pure hysteria as her cousin lands on the ground with her chair on top of her. No, you didn't, I yell. Santi and I burst into laughter. We grab each other's shoulders to support our outburst. This is horrible. I'm not sure. I'm not convinced this is a horror story. This is a nothing story. It conveys nothing. That was not nice. Elena interrupts our joy. The writing's made some very interesting decisions. The author has definitely got a style to him. Make interesting choices of words and tenses. From line to line. She struggles to pick herself up from the ground, which only makes us laugh even more. I feel a bit guilty, however, so I go to assist her. She stands up, shoves me away, and proceeds to stomp towards Santi. You're an asshole, dude. What if I broke my neck? It was so damn worth it, though, Santi says, still smiling about it. Okay, whatever happened, happened, I say. Just go on and tell your story, please. Please. Please? Please. Please. It only says please once in the text. My fire's stopped! How dare you? Maybe fire will keep doing that. It's fine. We've still got fire noise, but fire's being uncooperative. I will eat the mic if I want. It's my mic. My stream. You right, Santi says, and we all sit back down. Elena still stares at Santi with mild hatred. It'll pass, though. It always does. The mild hatred. Here it comes, Santi begins. He hunches down a bit and rests his elbows on his thighs. Elena and I lock our eyes with his. We have locking eyes. This could be a Klein. This could be Klein writing under a pseudonym. You remember that little girl who died in a car accident near the grocery store? Santi asks us. A strict look takes over his face, unlike his usual playful expression. You mean Cassandra? Cassandra Gutierrez? Gutierrez. Gutierrez? I ask. What about her? Wait a minute, Elena begins. Shh! I want 0 interruptions, Santi says. But yeah. You want another true story? As to what happened to her? Oh, I forgot to say at the time, but also, Keisha is now playing Power Wash Simulator. Forgot to call you out. There's a story involving her death? I ask. Oh, there's a story, alright. Santi says. It turns out this crazy bitch was well acquainted with the devil. I know what you're thinking. But trust me, guys, when I say it's true. You know all the stupid shit little kids be doing nowadays? Someone in the high school probably influenced her, or some shit. That wasn't. We were writing in an accent. There's also a doing, which is good because I like doings. So when you said doing instead of doing. Anyways, rumors got to her that there was a special type of ritual that will, now get this, transform you into a demon or some shit along those lines. I know. It sounds hysterical. As fake as it sounds, however, this ritual might hold some truth after what I'm about to say. Can I just say I fucking hate comma, however, comma, as a thing that is... like, you can do, like, one of those. If you're writing a story this long, do one comma, however, comma. Please don't do one in every paragraph. It's a pet peeve, though. I understand that. We're being nitpicky. It's fine. Yo, we like people writing stories and having a good time writing stories and putting them out for people and getting rated 8.4 or whatever out of 10. Good job. We just maybe sometimes feel that the bar's a little low, and also we like having fun here. It isn't like any other ritual. For starters, this thing needs to last over 7 months. Within those 7 months, each month you had to perform a different task. What I mean by that is, for example, the first month you had to tell at least 10 lies a day. Starts off easy and all, but as you can imagine, it gets worse as time goes on. So, hang on, I juice somewhere. I actually remembered to get a drink today that I could refill my water, so I don't realize that I haven't drank anything for an hour and can't speak anymore. Okay. So when she first started, she just kept on lying without stopping. Cassandra had no trouble completing the first task. The second month, however, was a bit more challenging. However. It requires the person to rob something from someone every day. She was a bit hesitant to do so, since she wanted proof that the devil will actually come to her right after those 7 months. Look, this sounds like a lot of work, certainly. You best be paying attention. Kids told her that a demon usually arrives during the first or second month, but this hadn't happened to Cassandra yet. Satan, come on. Finally, however. Wait, however. Not two howevers and one comma. Around the middle of the second month, the devil paid her a visit. But again, robbing a store or stealing someone's wallet ain't that difficult. We be robbing places left and right. Santi flicks my knee with his hand and winks at me. I struggle to offer him a smile back. But yeah, the devil came to her dreams and stated that from now on, she'll follow his instructions. Now that Cassandra had full proof she was ready to sail, the bitch usually took money from her parents, and once in a while smuggled some food from the same grocery store where she was run over. I think it might be. I think they're in love now. The narrator and Santi. Definitely, come on. What do you mean, poorly written? Not even a possibility. The 3rd month came, and the devil commanded her to commit blasphemy as much as possible within a month. I cannot fully explain to you all the crazy shit this bitch did. Cassandra was a complete mess. Santi laughs to himself. Dear God, the girl used the Lord's name in vain. Wrong vein, by the way. Vein as in veins and arteries, rather than. Pissed on a number of Bibles. Went to church late at night and vandalized the entire area. I'll give her props for being one creative cunt. Good grief, Story. She makes the 3 of us look like a bunch of wimps. Yeah? I'm worried there's gonna be a slur the more this goes on. If there is, we're just gonna quietly move on to something else. Yeah, taking the Lord's name in veins and arteries, and then pissing on Bibles. I like how it said, like, oh, she was doing some crazy shit, man. She was taking the Lord's name in vain. Anyway, the 4th month came, and the devil gave new orders. Every weekend of the month, she had to perform a worshipping in honor of Lucifer. I don't have all the little details on what she did exactly, but you guys can imagine all the crazy shit that went down. So far, in my opinion, most of the stuff she had to do wasn't that bad. But then came the 5th month. Here's where it gets juicy. The devil told Cassandra that she needed to kill an animal every single day. Every damn day! Imagine that! Devil said it doesn't matter what type of animal, just as long as she progresses as the weeks pass by. She started off with bugs, birds, and all that other shit. Then she started murdering squirrels. Then she started murdering squirrels and raccoons. If you ask me, she did this town a favor slaughtering those animals. They can be annoying as fuck. So we've said the Lord's name in vain and now we're pest control. I'm not. But yeah, then she killed dogs and cats that roamed the streets. At last, this crazy bitch burned down an entire farm. A fucking farm. I'm telling you, these people are crazy. They're still only gonna count as 1 day's worth. I don't know why. Like, Stan never asked for this. Stan wouldn't have wanted that. At this point, the devil already knew she was the one. That's why, during the 6th month, he asked her to do some real wicked shit. The demon asked her to kill another human being. A sinister smile curves up Santi's lips. The smile is curving up his lips. Elena sucks in her breath. No! No! Don't say! Listen to this, guys, Santi says. It was a grain farm. Only corn was destroyed in the farm burning. Listen to this, guys, Santi says. Cassandra doubted herself if she could really do it. I mean, that's some serious shit, you know? To take another person's life? The devil didn't give her an exact date, thanks Stan, but said it had to be within that 6th month. Well, did she do it? Elena and I ask in unison. Supposedly. She killed some hobo near our neighborhood, Santi reveals to us. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what a lot of people are speculating. Everyone is sure, however, that this bitch definitely murdered another human being. I can tell by our grim faces that this is as scary as fuck. I know, trust me. Jesus. I'm left completely speechless. I always perceived Cassandra to be an innocent girl, but to kill someone? Holy shit. Well, she was pissing on a lot of Bibles. And the squirrel murdering phase was inexcusable. I don't know, guy. The story doesn't end here, guys. Santi whispers. This next part is my favorite. So yeah, she killed the hobo. The 7th month comes, the final obstacle. Just thinking about it, I can only imagine the pressure and anticipation Cassandra must have felt. You don't want to fail your certain exam. Not at the final hurdle. So what happens was, the devil told her in order for her to complete the ritual, she needed to kill a member of her family. And you want to know what this bitch did? She pussied out last minute. She couldn't do it. I guess she must have loved her family that much. I mean, in my opinion, she's really stupid. You already killed another human being, and at this point, you're considered a piece of shit. Slick back hair, white bathing suit. It's not chicken spaghetti at Ciccolini's, that's the second one, with the itty bitty jeans. Possibly. At this point, you're considered a piece of shit. Why not just kill someone in your family? It could have been an uncle, an aunt, a sister, a cousin. What the fuck did he just say? I begin. You still haven't explained how she died. Something doesn't fit right. This fear flowing through my veins feels demented. Oh, that? Santi says. Well, I killed her. I ran that bitch over. My mind goes blank. Santi shifts his eyes towards mine. A weight of dread unfolds inside me. I don't see my cousin. I see someone else. I see a monster dwelling inside him. What did you just say? Elena stutters. Santi, in return, provides us with his most doleful expression yet. I said, I killed Cassandra. What's so hard about it? I ran the bitch over. See, what she didn't know was that I was also completing my 7-month trial. The devil informed me on my 6th month that she backed off. Jeez, devil, I didn't know you were a cop. So he suggested that I should eliminate her. Bam! That easy. I was able to complete my second to last task. Could have been. But the story doesn't end there. I guess that leaves me... That same crunching noise that interrupted Santi in the begin returns to cut him off again. God damn it. Santi backs in rage. I'll go check that shit out again. I thought I fucking got rid of those damn animals. Once again, he leaves Elena and me all by ourselves in the backyard. Are you gonna stay there and wait for him to come back and murder you? We sit in disturbed silence. This time I feel completely afraid to move a single joint. I try to stop my hands from shaking, but this fright itching deep inside my skin prevents me from maintaining my composure. We are just gonna wait here for him to come back and murder us. Hey, Elena says. I'm startled by the sudden sound of her voice. Sorry, didn't mean to scare you. I have to tell you something, though. Please keep on talking, I whimper. Hearing you talk is calming me down. That's not the story he told me earlier, Elena says. He told me something completely different. I don't know what the hell kind of story he told. Right. I'm back, Santi says in his cheerful tone. The one I've come to associate my favourite cousin with. Elena and I jump in our seats. Sorry I took so long, but I wanted to scram away all of those goddamn raccoons. You gotta do something about that, bro. Elena and I stare at our cousin with trepidation. What? Why the solemn faces? Aw, are you guys scared even before I tell my awesome story? Just what the fuck do you mean, dude? Elena bickers. What kind of story were you telling before, you sick fuck? That wasn't very nice of you to just shit on Cassandra's grave like that. Okay, hold the fuck up, Santi remarks. Why the hell are you all up in my shit with that bitchy tone of yours, cuz? What the hell did I do wrong? I just got here! I haven't even said my story yet. And why do you even have to bring up Cassandra? Bullshit, Elena mouths off. If this is some sick prank, then just stop it. You asshole. You scared George and me pretty badly. I had no idea we were called George until right now. You need to calm the hell down, Santi argues back. Yo, George! Tell her to chill, bro. What the hell happened that made her all crazy just now? We were George the whole time. Am I George? Am I a murderer? I remain quiet. I wait to see if Elena figures it out. But it's more than that. I can't help but to stay mute. The realization of it all leaves me stagnant. I hate it when I become stagnant because of a sudden realization. Dismay takes over my mind. Do you hear me? Santi repeats himself. Dude, are you okay? You don't look too well. Fire! I knew it would have stopped. It's been too long. It's fine. Hang on. Do you hear me? Santi repeats himself. Dude, are you okay? You don't look too well. I switch my gaze from the ground and stare at Elena. It takes her a moment, but she finally gets it. I see her eyes swell, and the first of many tears spill down her ruddy cheeks. Santi, I whisper, how does this story end? Please tell me you remember a little bit. Bro, I have no idea what you're talking. Santi! I spring to have your eyes swell. It's not. I spring up from my chair, knocking the damn thing down. Damn chair, get out of here. Making us look like fools. I march towards my cousin, grab his shoulders, and rattle his goddamn body. Please! You have to remember! How does the story end? What happens next? From behind me I hear Elena sob. She whispers a silent prayer to herself. It's all useless, however. We're fucked. Santi! Don't do it, please! I cry on his shoulders. Don't kill Elena on me! The sound of leaves breaking comes again. This time, however, I hear the crunch right behind Santi. I'm sorry, he whispers, but I don't know what I did. The beers! What? What do you mean, the beers? The poison, Santi slowly mumbles. One of us is going to die. That's the end of the story. Now, this story was written by the Split Personality, which means a theory of it being a Ernest Klein sock puppet. That's what I was thinking the whole time. The beers, George! What do they mean? I don't know about you, but that was wonderful. If I had to have some complaints, the fact that nothing happened in the story, for like the first 75-80%, it was just nothing. The end was funny. I'm gonna hit random story again. Remember that this was rated 8.74 out of 10, so... I mean, that seems quite high. If we get lower than that, I'm worried. Ooh. Oh no. Okay, Virus 28. Ran on July the 22nd, 2021 by Lockhart 1220. Rating 6.59 out of 10. I understand. It's a slow burn. It's just building. Forever. Oh, estimated reading time is only 5 minutes. Tuesday. Oh wait, this is called Virus 28. Did I say that? I probably said that. Tuesday, March 16th, 2021. My name is Todd Marston. I'm a collector of sorts. Collecting old bullet casings from each... Let's try that again. Collecting old bullet casings from each country I visit. And showcase them in my museum. I found some strange trinkets over the years, but that was nothing compared to what I found in the Czech Republic. I was camping in the wilderness, actively searching for some bullet casings to add to my collection. I found a few during the first few days out there, until I found what looked like an old barn. We're just walking through the forest looking for bullet casings. This is... okay? You do you? It was broken down all to hell, so who knows what it could have been. But it didn't house any animals. Okay, that's nice. I was maybe about 73 kilometers away from civilization. Transporting animals here would be unlikely, especially with the trees in the area. No one thought there were animals in the barn. Why did you... I searched the grounds with my metal detector. Found some simple things like pins and trash. But my biggest find was an old mailbox dug deep into the soil. I recovered it and took it back to my camp, shocked at what was inside. I will share with you what I found, but I have to say, the Czech government wasn't involved at all with this. The box contained 2 black and white photos of men, experiment notes, and doodles of something unknown. It's all in Czech, but I tried my best to translate it with a buddy of mine. Here's what it says. I don't know why I'm doing this voice for this guy, but I like it. Page 1. April 4th, 1950. A week ago, we were given a specimen that was infected with a virus we named Virus 28. A brown long-eared bat was found in the town square, harassing townspeople with minor bites and scrapes. The bat had appeared to have created a large gash on its chest with its claws, being caught and transported to the vet, only to be given to my partner and me to look over. Upon examining its blood and saliva samples, we found an unidentified virus that didn't match those of present-day discoveries, or any records of the past. The bat seemed to have died the day after examining its blood, passing from self-mutilation of the face, chest and wings, which caused the animal to bleed out. My partner improperly disposed of the carcass, though we thought nothing of it. They just yeeted out the window. We thought nothing of it at the time. My partner soon came up to me and confessed they'd been having dreams of deer. Whitetail bucks are what they told me. It was quite unusual, so I contained him in a special box. You're getting the bad dream crate. Sorry, buddy. In case of scenarios like this where someone dreamed of a deer. But I would never have thought this would happen to my partner. Could be nothing but a recurring dream is what they say. With our recent discovery of Virus 28, what's to say that's not affecting their dream pattern too? Everyone knows about all those viruses that make you dream about deer. Gotta quarantine him, gotta put him in the box. April 7th, 1950. Nothing much happened after containment. The dreams continued as normal, though still on the topic of deer, until last night. My partner explained they were greeted by a deer who spoke in tongues. Unable to translate such a thing, but they could see pointed teeth within the buck's mouth. That's how that was written, by the way. There's no like punctuation or nothing in there. Its hooves looked more like human hands, but the dead grass covered a majority of it, so it was unclear. Possibly their brain playing tricks on them. Though the experience was most certainly uncommon and strange. It's a dream. Dreams are strange. This is normal. Please let him out of the box. The containment chamber consists of books for entertainment, a desk, a toilet, and a bed. I deliver them food every few hours to eat, which would be consumed in a normal amount of time. Nothing unordinary besides the dreams and progressing nightmares. I'll still overlook this experiment to its fullest and document my findings on Virus 28. The government shall not know about this. Not yet, anyway. Here's a plan. You could test his blood to see if he has the virus, or if he's just having weird dreams. Maybe he's just eating too much cheese before bed. You are delivering him food every few hours. You might be overfeeding your lab partner. Page 2. April 10th, 1950. The subject has been experiencing more frequent nightmares. I have been keeping a catalogue of every detail they told me of each night's dreams. Nightmare 1. Subject dreamt of a hunter skinning a fawn, mangling its tiny body as the animal was still awake and conscious in the whole event. The subject could do nothing but watch, as if they weren't even there physically, but invisible to the characters within the dream. What does that mean? Probably having nightmares because of being in isolation. Yeah, could be. Let him out of the box. Nightmare 2. Subject dreamt of the bones of the fawn they witnessed last night, walking about the forest as if nothing happened, chewing on grass tufts, and the click-clacking of its bones echoed through the empty, dark forest. Bones arose from the soft soil of the surface. They came from under the ground and from all over, rattling and shaking as the fawn walked by, collecting the bones as if they were paper clips to a magnet, adding to the skeletal structure of the animal. The subject was once again unable to move or interact with the environment, watching as the amalgamation of bones disappeared into the darkness of the forest. It's pretty common to not be able to do much in a dream. By the way, Arthur, that's like very normal. Have you ever experienced a dream, Arthur? Nightmare 3. The subject stood at the feet of a monster, a tall being reaching up to 25 feet. 53... Have they got a fucking tape measure in this dream? 53 feet long, entirely made up of bone and old skin tissues, seemingly from different organisms. The subject could identify some of the bones and tissue on the creature, ranging from hippo, alligator, rex, owl, hyenodon, bones and skin from a jaguar, wolf, sheep, whale, and more, though they can't identify them all. The beast's head was made up of a deer skull, antlers of a caribou, and the bottom jaw of a lion, with many unidentified teeth. Some bones also consist of humans, though unidentifiable. The beast had a long neck, a thick body with 3 sets of legs, 2 arms, and a long tail that ended with a point. A strange monster at that, though this could be the subject's hyperactive mind or a result of Virus 28. Could be having nightmares due to isolation. Could be this weird virus that we don't know if they have or not, that there was a bat with. The subject is currently awake and paranoid because of their dreams. Eating patterns have been altered. The subject now barely touches their food. Rather, they toss the tray aside, creating a mess within their chamber. Could Howard, is that you? April 12th, 1950. Oh, this is page 3, by the way. I don't know why that's important. The subject appears to be experiencing hallucinations of the monster, visions of which I cannot see, but they can. As is the case with hallucinations, this is how they saw bugs, animals, and humans surrounding the chamber, filling the room, watching them like they were the star of the show. They explained how the creatures have physical wounds upon their bodies. A woman with a hole over her forehead. A man whose skin was charred and flaky. A male worker whose body was mangled as if tossed into a machine and ground into a fleshy mess. Poor puddle boy, the pain is unbearable. Many other humans filled the room, though the animals looked much worse. Lions who clawed at their bodies. Horses that broke their necks and limbs. Even bats who smashed their heads open or clawed at themselves, just like the bat we found a few weeks ago. Insects were also in the room, not looking as bad with their limbs or wings being ripped from their bodies, or crushed by something heavy, be it a foot or rock. That's how that's written? Not sure what that means. Cooper. Got there in the end. Thank you, Fawn. I mean, I think I know what that means, but that's how it's written. The subject has been pacing their chamber for hours now, mumbling in tongues under their breath, looking up at what might be the monster of bones they told me about in their dreams. After some research, I hypothesized that the virus is one of a kind, or extremely rare due to the limited or zero reports of this happening. Created 65 million years ago, when the meteor crashed into the Earth and killed the dinosaurs, this virus infects and controls living organisms till death, leaping to another ideal host, though the motives are still unclear or any physical evidence of the appearance of this creature. My guy, that is a wild hypothesis. I think he might not be a scientist, he might just be pretending to be a scientist. Page 4. I woke up to screaming. Lately I've been sleeping in my lab to keep an eye on my partner. It's 3:25 AM, and upon looking into the chamber, I saw blood. They had dug their nails into their skin and tore off flesh and meat. Their eyes chewed and spat on the floor as words... Their eyes are chewing and spitting on the floor as words and drawings covered the walls, painted in what seems to be the subject's blood. Rolling on the floor, thrashing about as they clawed at their skin, bleeding everywhere, staining the concrete floor, making a mess. Get out of here! What are you doing? This isn't your box. Who has to... Red, crimson, metallic smelling blood. It's crimson copper smelling blood. Blood. Bits of sick. I couldn't do a thing. Who knows what the subject can do to me, let alone the virus. So I watched for hours on end until they finally died. My guy! Suffocated on their blood after they had bitten off their tongue. Tonight I'll clean the chamber and dispose of the body. They will be missed. I miss my box friend. Rit's note. People won't believe what I've just witnessed in my time on this experiment. Things I too didn't believe. But I hope that my research helps those too who are infected. But nobody should ever know of such a thing. Yet, I will bury my papers. The world is better off not knowing about this monster. For I too have dreams of deer. You're gonna lose the deposit on the isolation chamber. Yo, I'm gonna write my own theory about some random garbage, and so well, this obviously dates back to when the meteor that killed the dinosaurs struck the Earth. Obviously, anyone could tell you that. And then I'm gonna bury it so no one, because it's too powerful information. It's not a good sign if you're dreaming of deers, Jen. Thank you, Lockhat1220 for this experience that we experienced. Yo, that was genuinely better than the last one. Some of it were a bit of a mess, especially towards the end, and none of it makes sense, but it's like a fifth as long and like genuinely better throughout. So maybe the ratings mean nothing. I am about ready to hit the random story again. It was better and shorter, I think. But first, I'm gonna get a quick break. Sorry, Jen, you just showed up in time for me to go for a break. I'm gonna be right back. I'll be really quick. And then we're gonna have more spooky stories. I hope you're ready, folks. Thanks, Jen! Thanks for the gift sub, Jen. It's good to see you. We keep missing each other. Yeah, there were things in that one. I loved it. Back. Hope y'all did a hydrate. Oh, stretch. Hang on then. Let me put my headphones back in. Things happen in that one, and I was never worried it was gonna do a slow. Saito, how you doing? Good job getting hit by that gift sub from Jen. Jen has frogged you. I'm sorry. You're a frog now. I did a big stretch. I know you gotta take my word for it. Trust me. Ooh, thanks for playing that bean, Jen. That's how it works. I need to play more Final Fantasy Tactics. I need to get back to turning everyone into frogs. I have so many games that I haven't finished. I'm just... Do you think that should be like a... That can be the next thing. We get back to all the games we've not finished and we push through. More Carcassonne. I kind of like Carcassonne. It's just bad with the expansions. I genuinely really like Carcassonne. I think it's really easy to teach and it's just fun. And you get to like... You get to try and steal castles off each other. No dragon. Get the dragon out of here. You gotta walk the pup aside though. It's important. You gotta look after the animals. Yo, if we all play Carcassonne, I'll just not put the expansion on. I'll put the river on and nothing else. The river just gives you more stuff to work from off the start. Okay, this is 9.27 rated. The title is, if you're armed and at the Glenmont Metro, please shoot me. Estimated reading time of 12 minutes. Also, this has a... This has art. This has an art on it. Hang on. I investigate disturbing G cases. Here are my stories. Watchers. Yeah, look at that. We got an art there. We got a title. We got a cover. We got Mario in the corner. Get out of here, Mario. Fancy. I don't know. Carcassonne's fun. Carcassonne's genuinely fun. You just put little men on little bits of cardboard and try and steal castles off each other. Power wash only player. I want to do some kind of like cooperative board gamey thing with the gang. We might. I had an idea that was like a terrible. Carcassonne's not like Catan. It's way simpler, and you can like Catan is really annoying to teach because it's always like the whole time you're like, oh, you can't actually do that. I'm sorry. You gotta take that back. No, you can't. And people looking at the stuff and going, huh, I can't do shit on my turn. I guess it's your turn. All you do in Carcassonne is you draw a tile, then you have to put that tile down, and then you can choose if you want to put a little man on the tile or not. And there's some situations where you can't put a little man on it. Yeah, I can see it. I'm okay with Catan. It's okay when everyone knows what they're doing, but teaching it is miserable. Because it's just making everyone sad by telling them they can't do anything. I had an idea, which I'm probably not. So my idea was, in honor of me and Kesh playing through The Walking Dead, I was gonna make like rules for me and Kesh in The Walking Dead, and we were gonna do like a little mini campaign or something, cooperative mini campaign. I didn't ever ask. Oh, sounds like work. Let's go. I was like thinking of rules for everyone. We'll see. If you're armed and at the Glenmont Metro, please shoot me. Make it a headshot. Shoot me in the temple, aiming slightly downwards. I need the bullet to travel the shortest possible distance through my brain before it hits my hippocampus. If I'm lucky, the sensation of the gunshot ripping through my skull will only last a few decades. As awful as this sounds, you'll be doing me an enormous favour. Death by a headshot, as soon as possible, is vastly better than the alternative. My ordeal started over 10,000 years ago, at 10:15 this morning. I earn extra money by participating in drug trials. I'm a so-called healthy subject who takes experimental drugs to help assess side effects. Once it was a kidney drug. A few times it's been something for blood pressure or cholesterol. This morning they told me the drug I took was a psychoactive substance intended to accelerate brain function. None of the drugs I had tested so far have ever done anything for me, in the recreational sense. In other words, none of the drugs I've tested have given me a killer buzz, or mellowed me out, or anything. Maybe I've always ended up the placebo group, but nothing I've tested has affected me at all. I genuinely was thinking of... Okay, so, Legis, you were gonna be, your character was just gonna have, like, the only special rule was gonna be obvious traitor. And the wording for that was gonna be, like, if you're doing a ranged attack, and you have the option to shoot into combat, so you're shooting someone who's already fighting a zombie, which gives you, like, a 50-50 chance of hitting each one. You have to shoot at that target. I thought you'd approve of that. It gives you the highest chance to kill a teammate. This is what I was doing this morning while I was on reception desk. Just thinking of special rules for the community. Today's drug was different. This shit worked. They gave me a pill at 10:15 and told me to hang out in the waiting room until they called me back for some tests. Only about 30 minutes, the research assistant told me. I flopped onto the waiting room couch and read a few articles from a copy of Psychology Today that was sitting on the coffee table. They hadn't called me back when I finished the Psychology Today, so I picked up a US News and read it cover to cover. Then I read an old Scientific American. What was taking them so damn long? I sluggishly turned my head to look at the wall clock. It was only 10:23 a.m. I had read all 3 magazines in 8 minutes. I remember thinking, this was going to be a long day. I was right. The waiting room had a little bookshelf with some used hardcovers on it. When I stood up to walk to the bookshelf, it felt like my legs barely worked. Not like they were weak, they were just slow. Took a full minute just to stand up off the couch, and another minute to take 2 steps to the bookcase. I scanned the old books on the shelf and picked out a copy of Moby Dick. My arms had the same problem as my legs. Just reaching one foot in front of me to grab the book took a long time. I actually got bored, just waiting for my hand to reach the spine of the book. I slugged back to the couch and collapsed onto it in slow motion. In a slow motion fall that reminded me of the low gravity hops of astronauts on the moon. Yo, have you been playing Disco Elysium? What? Why do I sound like Disco Elysium? I don't believe you. I opened Moby Dick, slowly, and began reading. The limbic system? The horrible one? Okay. Oh, jeez. I haven't played the game in so long, I can't even attempt an impression. Maybe we'll... I started with Call Me Ishmael, and got as far as Ahab throwing his pipe into the sea, which was all the way to friggin' chapter 30, before they called me back. How are you feeling? The research assistant asked me. I feel slow, I said. Actually, it's the other way around. Everything seems slow because you're so fast. But my legs, my arms, they're moving in slow motion. Your body seems like it's moving slowly because your brain is fast. Your brain is running 10 or 20 times faster than normal. You are thinking and perceiving reality at an accelerated pace, but your body is still constrained by the laws of biomechanics. Frankly, you're moving much faster than a normal person. She pantomimed a jogging motion. But your brain is running so much faster right now that even your fast walk seems very slow to you. I thought about my slow motion flop onto the waiting room couch. Even if my muscles had slowed down, my body would still react to gravity the same way. But in the waiting room, I even fell in slow motion. Slow muscles couldn't explain why gravity seemed weaker. My brain was going at warp 10. That's how I managed to read 3 magazines and the first 30 chapters of Moby Dick in 15 minutes. They ran a series of tests on me. The physical tests were fun. They made me juggle 3 balls, then 4, then 6. I had no problem keeping 6 balls in the air because they seemed to be moving so slowly. It was boring. The test was fun, it bored me. Frankly, waiting for each ball to move through its arc so I could catch it with my slow motion hands and toss it back into the air. They threw Cheerios in the air and I caught them with chopsticks. They dropped a handful of coins and I counted the total value before they hit the ground. The cognitive tests were less fun, but very illuminating. Finish a 50-word word search. 3 seconds. Solve an intricate maze drawn onto a poster-sized paper. 2 seconds. View a slideshow projected at 10 images per second and answer detailed questions about what I saw. 95% correct. They told me I measured over 250 on the NOPF scale. Apparently that's deep into the superhuman range of NOPF. of thinking speeds. Then they sent me home. It'll wear off in a few hours, they said, which will seem like days to you. Try to use the residual effects to get some work done. Catch up on work emails while you're still in high speed mode. The ride home was horrible. It was only 3 metro stops, and in real world time it only took about 35 minutes. But in my drug accelerated hyper time, it felt like days. Oh, it felt like days. Days! All over the floor of the post office in Leytonstone. Just walking out of the medical research suite to the elevator seemed like it took an hour. I sprinted out of the office, willing my legs to push me faster. But the laws of biomechanics held me prisoner. As accelerated as my brain was, I couldn't do anything to make my legs faster. The huge disconnect between my body and mind made it extremely difficult to judge how and when to slow down, turn, or rotate my body. I had basically turned into giant slow motion spaz. I misjudged my speed and rammed into the wall by the elevator button at a pretty good speed. Even though I could see the wall coming at me, I couldn't make my finger outstretched to hit the elevator button move away fast enough, and I jammed it against the wall hard. The pain was intense. If my brain had been running at regular speed, it probably only would have hurt for 30 seconds or so. But in my accelerated state, the intense finger pain seemed to last for half an hour. 45 minutes, maybe. I was running at the wall with my finger out. I just had time to say, "Oh no!" before I jammed it into the wall. My finger was in agony for 45 minutes. The elevator ride was horrible. I felt like I spent 4 or 5 hours just descending 7 floors, with nothing to look at but the interior of the elevator car. I sprinted to the metro station. I have to admit, this part was almost fun, even though my body moved at what seemed to me super slow speed. I could still carefully choose how and where to place my feet, swing my arms, and turn my torso. It only took a block or two to getting used to having a brain that ran 24 times faster than my body. Then I basically sprint danced the rest of the way. I love to sprint dance. Twisting and juking between people on the sidewalk and dodging moving cars with inches, aka minutes, of clearance. I spent an hour, in my time frame, descending into the subway and running to the platform. Endless tedium waiting the 6 minutes for the Red Line train to arrive. Although there was more to look at on the metro platform than inside the elevator, it was still intensely boring. I should have stolen that copy of Moby Dick. The Red Line train roared into the station in slow motion. The normally high-pitched squeal of its brakes was frequency shifted by my high-speed mind. I thought he was going to say my high-speed ears. To a long, low tone, like a monotone tuba solo. Like a single note tuba solo. It wasn't just the squealing subway train that was 3 octaves lower than normal. All sound was slowed to the point of near inaudibility. Voices were gone, shifted below the threshold frequency of my hearing. I did manage to hear a screaming baby on my subway car. Her shrieks slowed to sound like whale song. Sharp sounds like a car horns and trucks bouncing over the potholes were low, muddied roars like distant thunder. He was just saying he had trouble dodging a wall. I wouldn't then go plane traffic, but to each their own. Back at the research offices, I could still hear and communicate with the research staff, but now verbal communication with anyone would be impossible. The effects of the drug were still intensifying. Me too, honestly! White never mentioned that, like, hey, they were, like, talking real slow. I spent what seemed like days on that fucking Red Line train. Days. Listening to the whale song of the screaming baby and the tuba solo of the brakes. Where ordinary voices were frequency shifted out of my audio range, smells didn't seem to be affected, oh dear. I never became nose-blind to the body odour, the stench of the train's brakes, and the melange of fats and other smells wafting through the metro car. I was stuck in that fat tin for months. I finally got back to my apartment. Sprinting through my open door and into the front hall at full speed was like a slow, relaxing drift down a lazy river. I thought this would be shorter. I've been reading it in a silly voice the whole time. I should probably not have done that. I was relieved to be home. Yeah. I can't hear. If there's like I can't make out words if there's a bunch of people talking on a train car. It's just noise. It's just all one noise. And if someone's trying to talk to me, like someone I'm with is trying to talk to me, it's difficult. Never been stuck in a fat cloud for like a month though, so it slowly wafted over in slow motion. I was relieved to be home. At least I had stuff I could do there. I picked up the book I was reading, 100 Years of Solitude, and finished it, despite turning the pages so quickly that I tore many of them. It seemed like most of the time I spent finishing the book was spent on page turning, not actually reading. 3 minutes had passed since I got home. Don't know about it kind of just sounds like, oh, I'm gonna have a headache soon. I don't know about getting more or less garbled. I tried surfing the internet. My god, it takes a long time for computers to boot these days. It was too frustratingly slow. Hours seemingly to load each new page, and a fraction of a second to read it. 100 articles in my newsfeed read, and just 3 more minutes done. Oh, jeez. I don't know what Hollister is. I don't know if we have those. Gabbling leads to headaches. Just... It's one of those sounds I just associate with feeling rather than sounds. It's just, it sounds like a headache coming up. Oh dear. I dipped into my pile of yet-to-be-read books. If people are wearing, like, horrible aftershave or something, and I want to train with them, I will never stop being able to smell it. It will always be horrible. Yeah, it's just being neurodivergent. Welcome to our world, guy. Horrible rich white kid star. Tragic. I decided to try sleep off the remaining effects of the drug. Unfortunately, whatever part of my mind is responsible for perception, the part that's been accelerated to hyperspeeds by the drug isn't the same as the part that governs sleep. Despite being awake for what I perceived as days, my physical brain still thought it was 1:25 p.m. It was not ready for sleep. Are you burning yourself with lime aftershaves? It's only bad overpowering aftershave or perfume. It's a lot for us. Nevertheless, I tried to sleep. I walked to my bedroom, a slow 45-minute drift through my apartment, and flung myself into bed, lazily falling like a feather onto the mattress. I closed my eyes and lay there for hours and hours, 10 minutes of reality time, before giving up. Sleep would not come. I was facing what was going to feel like days, or maybe even weeks, of being trapped in a slow-motion prison. So I took an Ambien. The sensation of the pill and the splash of water I used to swallow it sliding my throat was sickening. I hate sliding my throat. A lump that blocked my breathing, moving like a slug down my esophagus. I read a book. 10 minutes had passed. I read another. 18 minutes since I took the Ambien. I threw the book across the room in disgust at my situation. The book slowly pirouetted and spun through the air, like a leaf blowing in the breeze. It hit the wall with a long, faint rumble, the only sound I'd heard for what seemed like hours, then drifted to the floor like a flip-flop sinking in a swimming pool. Don't take drugs after testing drugs. Yeah, they probably said that. They'll have said it too slow for him to... Drifted to the floor like a flip-flop sinking in a swimming pool. Tragic. The force of gravity hadn't changed since I took the pill. The laws of physics were the same. It was just my perception of time that had gone wackadoo. This meant I could use the speed things seemed to fall as a way of judging the effects of the drug. Based on how long it took the book to drift to the floor, I estimate the effects of the book. I estimate the effects of the drug were still intensifying. Is that the flip-flop in the pool? Yeah, it said wackadoo. Flip-flops don't sink. I mean, you'd know you're Australian. Never thought about this. My perception of the flip-flops in the pool had gone wackadoo. I read a magazine. I turned on the television. I clearly saw each frame of video like I was watching a slideshow. Frustrated, I turned the television off. Fuck-a-doodle-doo. We already watched Shaun of the Dead. We can't watch Shaun of the Dead again, unless some time has passed between the viewings of Shaun of the Dead. I read some more. The first two books of Churchill's A History of the English-Speaking Peoples. Not exactly a light read. Frankly, I hated it, but given the hours of tedium it would take to get another book off my bookshelf, just sitting on the couch and reading Churchill was better. Or at least, less worse. We do gotta watch out for... We don't need to watch Mad Max 3 again, Jen. We can just leave. We can just not watch Mad Max 3 anymore. We're free now. Lee just hadn't seen Shaun of the Dead? We should watch Cloverfield Paradox again. It's fucking dumb. Did they bring the arm back to Earth? I hope so. Jan, are you joking? Is this jokes? Are you all joking? Yeah, maybe we need to watch Shaun of the Dead. Maybe anyone who hasn't seen to watch Shaun of the Dead should immediately watch Shaun of the Dead. It's just one of the best movies. Y'all have seen Hot Fuzz, right? Are we gonna have to do a double feature? It's Nick Frost and Simon Pegg. Comedy with zombies. They're gonna go down the Winchester and wait for the whole thing to blow over. It'd now been 35 minutes since I took the Ambien. I lay down on the couch and closed my eyes. Time passed. I inhaled. An hours-long process. Time passed. I exhaled for more hours. He's always hated me and now he wants to shoot my mum. She's not your mum anymore. She's just another zombie. Don't call her that! We're not using the Z word! I'm just gonna do the whole script for you so you don't need to watch it. Sleep would not come. I needed a new plan. I decided to go back to the offices where they gave me the drug. Maybe they would have something that could counteract its effects, or at least something to knock me out until it wore off. I exited my apartment as fast as possible, taking hours in my time frame to do so. I didn't even bother locking the door. It would have taken too long. Down the stairs, it's faster than the elevator if you run. Through the lobby, out the front door and onto the street. These few things felt like a long day at the office. Sprinting down the street, dancing and weaving between pedestrians with what must have looked to them superhuman dexterity. Down the first flight of stairs at the metro, across the landing, another hour, then onto the second flight of stairs. That's when the Ambien hit me. The Ambien didn't make me sleepy. Not at all. Instead, it must have had a severe cross-reaction with the experimental drug I took this morning. I was bounding down the second flight of stairs, moving in slow motion, but still making perceptible progress. Then, wham! Everything stopped. The dull roar of the street and metro noise ceased, replaced by the most perfect silence I've ever experienced. My downwards motion seemed to completely freeze. Before the Ambien kicked in, my perception of time was maybe a few hundred times slower than real time. After the Ambien took effect, time moved thousands of times slower. Every second seemed like days to me. Even just moving my eyes to focus on a new point was like an impossibly slow scroll across my visual field. These stories do have the worst descriptions of I looked at a thing ever. These and Ernest Cline, which again means he wrote all of these stories. Over the course of the afternoon, I learned how to walk, run, and jump when my mind ran hundreds of times faster than my body, but with another 4 or 5 orders of magnitude of slowdown caused by the Ambien, body control was almost impossible. I fell on the stairs. Even though I was all but frozen in mid-step, controlling my muscles was impossible. I commanded my foot forwards for hours, then backwards for hours more when it seemed like I would miss the next step. Hours attempting to adjust the angle of my ankle, then readjusting when it felt wrong. Despite these efforts, I rolled my ankle on the next step. The pain wasn't at all mitigated by the slowness. Hours of increasing strain on my bent ankle. The nerve signals that send pain into my brain must work differently than the nerves in my ear. Sonic energy was spread out over time, diluted until it was imperceptible. Pain flowed into my brain, undiluted by the change in my perception of time. Hours and hours of increasing weight on my turned ankle turned into hours of increasing pain upon increasing pain. I pitched forwards. My high-speed mind completely unable to control my low-speed body. I drifted downwards for days, managing to rotate my torso enough to keep my head from impacting the ground first. I eventually landed on my right shoulder. First, the impact wasn't even noticeable. Then I felt a slight pressure in my shoulder as it came in contact with the ground. The pressure grew, bringing increasing pain for hour upon hour. My shoulder finally gave out, popping out of its socket with an endless, sickening tug. I came to a stop days later, crumpled onto the ground, staring at the ceiling, the pain in my shoulder still screaming with the intensity of a fresh, violent injury. I had plenty of time to think during that fall. If every second seemed like days to me, then each minute of real-world time would be like years. Even if the drug cleared out my system in the next 2 or 3 hours, this nightmare would seem to last centuries. By the time I hit the ground, I had a plan. I'd somehow get to the platform and throw myself in front of a train. I twisted onto my hands and knees, days of my dislocated shoulder crying for relief. I misjudged my rotation and rolled onto my back. It's just flopping around like a fish, poor guy. I tried again, collapsing onto my face as I tried to figure out how to control a body that moved slower than grass grew. Weeks of effort were finally rewarded with a success. I stabilized on my hands and knees. If just getting on all fours was this difficult, I figured that walking or running was completely out of the question. So I crawled. I crawled through the metro tunnel. The dumb looks on the faces in the crowd lingered on me for weeks. I crawled under the turnstile and onto the escalator. The escalator spilled the rush hour crowd onto the platform at the same speed a glacier spills ice into the sea. I looked out over the crowded platform during my interminable downward ride. The train status sign said the next train wouldn't arrive for 20 minutes. 20 minutes was like a year to me. I'd have to spend a year on top of the metro platform, waiting to die. I crawled off the escalator, enduring days of stupid expressions on the commuters' faces. I crawled a few feet to a concrete bench and curled up next to it, trying to find a position to lessen the pain in my shoulder. Then my problem with time got worse. Impossibly worse. The massive slowdown on the stairs was just the beginning of the interaction between the experimental drug and the ambient. It fully hit me when I was curled up by the bench. I blinked. Years of darkness followed. Sound was already gone, and with my blink, sight was gone as well. All that existed was the pain from my fall. My hyper-accelerated mind wasted no time compensating for the lack of sensory input. Voices spoke to me. They sung to me in languages that never existed. Patterns and faces and colours came and went in my mind's eye. I recalled my whole life and imagined living another. I forgot English. Evidently. I settled into a profound despair. I spoke to God. I became God. I imagined a new universe and brought it to life with my thoughts. Then I did it all again. And again. How he wrote this, I've been thinking that for like most of the thing. My eyes opened with geologic slowness. A faint glow. Weeks. A slit of light. Weeks. A narrow view of the metro platform. Ankles of the commuters near me and an advertisement on the opposite wall. I extracted my phone from my pocket. A project that spanned decades. How can I even explain the boredom? The pain in my shoulder is nothing compared to the boredom. Every thought I can think, I have thought hundreds of times already. The view of ankles and advertisements never changes. Never. The boredom is so intense it's tangible, like a solid object of metal and stone wedged into my skull. Inescapable. What are my options? If I crawl and fall onto the tracks without an oncoming train to crush me, I won't die. I'll experience even more pain from the 4-foot fall, but I'll most likely be rescued by some do-gooder on the platform and unable to act when the train finally does arrive. My suffering in that scenario will be endless. So I wait for the train, so I can throw myself under it. When it finally hits me, I will experience the pain of being ripped to pieces for centuries, until finally, the light of my life leaves my brain and my experience ends. I have lived hundreds of lifespans at the foot of this bench. I am far older, in spirit, than any human who has ever lived. Most of my life experience has been a snapshot of pain huddled on the floor of a subway platform, with an unchanging view of ankles and advertisements. This post is my plan B, my Hail Mary, my long shot. I've spent lifetimes typing and posting this message in the hopes that someone will read it and become convinced that my suffering must end. Someone on this platform, right now. Someone who will find the man curled under the bench, the man who crawled down the escalator, and kill him as swiftly as possible. A bullet to the temple. If you're armed and at the Glenmont Metro, please shoot me. That was If You're Armed and at the Glenmont Metro, Please Shoot Me, by Peter Frost David. Is that the title? Hang on. Yeah, that's the title. That was notably better written than the other ones. It was kind of boring though. Did kind of feel like time was slowing down during some parts of it. Yeah, it wasn't the worst, but it was def a thing. Never thought it was going to do a slur, so it takes the second place slot for today. Still like the 5 minutes one best. It was too slow. Ironic. How ironic. I'm gonna run to the loo again, because I've been hydrating too diligently. In part due to doing stupid voice. No more stupid voices. Next one we're gonna read like a normal person. Part of the time dilation was possibly that I got distracted a lot during that. No, I enjoyed the parts where I was just talking with chat more than I did the parts where I was reading the story, to be honest. Which is fairly normal, y'all agree. The limbic system was not amused. I'll be right back. And then we're going to do another. Let's get the fire moving again. Hey. Back. This video, by the way, is stormy night cozy cabin ambience with relaxing rain and fireplace sounds for sleeping and reading. In case you were worried we weren't doing it right. Ooh, this one's just called Nightmares. 7.99 out of 10. If we like this one, y'all have got to go on here and vote. bump it up to that 8 out of 10 rating. Ooh, only 3 minutes reading time. Oh, it's one giant brick of text. It's fine. Just in terms of formatting, this isn't ideal. Then it's broken up by an ad, and then there's kind of more. Not what I'd recommend if I was marking this. This was a anyway. Professor Spruce has decreed this is a break. I used to think nightmares were fun, so I asked for more. They were the only source of excitement in my endless rut of a life. I never used to get nightmares, and for that, I should have been grateful. I wasn't. I wished for more. I craved the adrenaline and the pounding of my heart as my eyes flew open. They say be careful what you wish for. They are not lying. The nightmares started to come quicker and much more often. It was small things at first, the things anybody would have. Being chased by wild dogs, being abandoned, or running naked into school. I tired of them quickly. I had no reason to keep myself awake after them. Soon, they began to become more intense. My brain began playing with me. I'd be held down by my throat, unable to breathe, unable to scream, my chest heaving but no air entering my lungs. I'd be torn at, my skin coming away like butter. I'd be tied down as those I trusted sliced into me. I began to dream of hell. Then I'd wake, my eyes not quite focusing on anything in my small box room. The purples of my cushions would merge with the cream of my wall, and the giant teddy bear that sat in the corner would blur. If I could breathe, there was no pressure on my throat. I would take in deep lungfuls of air, as if I hadn't breathed for hours. I scratched at my skin to check if it was still there, and it was. I'd check my clock, and it would always be the same time. 5 minutes past 3 in the morning became my waking hour. My eyes would try to slide closed, but I couldn't let that happen. Instead, I'd pull myself to the bathroom down the carpeted hall and splash icy water on my face until I was in no danger of sleeping. The sleep deprivation, I concluded, would be better than facing the horrors of the night. This is horrible. I'd go into school like a zombie. Nobody seemed to notice that anything was different. I began to become paranoid. As people walked past me, the memories would come rushing back, invading my mind. She was the one who made the first incision 2 nights ago. He was the one who had his hand over my neck last week. As they were the ones that retrieved the knives in the depths of hell, I pushed everyone away, in fear that they would build hell on earth. A rational fear. So I sat alone, excluding myself from the drone of conversation and the inconvenience of life. Guy, are you okay? You need a hug. My nightmares would plague me. Creative writing assignments in English were easy. Just pick a night and there was a horror story right there. Talks of battles in history shocked others, but barely even struck me as odd. Darling, this guy's okay. The drawings, I still know how dreams work. The drawings I did in art made everyone feel nauseous, but seemed quite normal to me. Lessons on hell in RE would strike fear into my very soul. Of all the things I needed, more imagery about Hades was not one of them. Those lessons began to creep into my dreams too. A human being can go 14 days without sleep before they die. The record for days without sleep is 11 days. A record which is held by a university student from America. My record is 5 days. I started hallucinating so horrifically on day 5, I couldn't take it anymore. The Susurrus whispers began at first? Susurrus. Susurrus? Is this word? I'm looking this up. Susurration. Whispering or rustling. The whispering whispers. Nice! The whispers whispered at me. Those voices assuring me I was crazy, that I was worthless and doomed to be ended by my own mind. Next, it was the high-pitched, sempiternal squealing. Is this a squealing squeal? We have crossed into the Thesaurus zone. Eternal and unchanging, everlasting. The high-pitched, everlasting squealing. Sounded like nails running down a chalkboard. Or a knife scraping against a plate, only twice as high and 5 times as loud. Then, inanimate objects began to turn clinquant. We have entered the Thesaurus zone. I'm sorry, everyone. This is French. This is just French. Inanimate objects began to turn clinquant. Okay. Inanimate objects began to turn French. The spots of brightness emitting from plants and pictures blinded me. I knew that these were merely chimerical. But can a schizophrenic stop having hallucinations? Neither can someone suffering with extreme sleep deprivation. Yeah, everyone's just trying to... Everyone's reaction immediately. Oh hey, did you find the thesaurus? I've decided to suck it up and face the monsters every night. I've begun sleeping well. When I say well, I mean I've been getting 6 hours of sleep a night. That's why I know I'm not hallucinating when I see dark figures in my bedroom at night. When I hear the creaking of my door opening. I know it's real. When the piercing screams of tortured souls invade my eardrums, it's actually happening. When I hear the hissed threats that they're coming for me, sadly, I know that's real too. They say be careful what you wish for. I wished for hell. I got it. It's 5 minutes past 3 in the morning. I can hear them. Well, that's the end. I don't think I'm going to give it the vote it needs to get up to 8 out of 10. Because that was fucking terrible. I think that was the worst one yet, but it was also the shortest, so that's difficult. Difficult call. The actual quality of writing was worse than all the other ones. Did you get hallucinations, Cash? Jeez. What do you see? What's it like? Sorry. You don't have to say. Last one for tonight. Actually, no, its estimated reading time is less than a minute. Okay, we'll just... a normal one. It's horrible. Makes sense. This is the Code of Mirrors. Ranked 7.74 out of 10. The images we see in the mirror are pure incarnates of evil. They are only allowed to exist in the area reflected in the glass. To them, life is like a never-ending hell, rotting away in the same room day after day. The only refuse from this purgatory is death. And the only way for them to die, sad to say, is if you die. Fortunately, they are bound by a code. You are their master, and they must mirror your every movement and expression. To do otherwise would break an unbreakable law, unraveling the space-time continuum. However, there is a loophole, and it can only be triggered by you, the master. To force them into error is to free them from their contract. After you let them out of your view, you're on your own. Know this, when you watch them, they're watching you back. They're watching, and they're thinking. That one is, that's the end. That's the end. That's all. Moving on. That happened. That's fine. Oh my god, why are they on 1 or 2 minutes now? Give me a proper one. Come on. I want to see 10 minutes plus. Actually, go back to the previous one. That had a rating of 4 point. So the one before this, what were we, like 6 or 7? This one has a rating of 4.91. I've never seen one this low. Estimated reading time of 2 minutes. Okay, I'm curious. This is residual. I don't know what gives the thing the rating this bad on this site. What do you have to do? Concealed by rock and magma, there is a place which harbours an unimaginable secret. It's completely invisible from the empty sky, the cluttered earth and the chaotic seas. No matter how hard you look, how far you search, or how deep you venture, you will never find it. At a time, there may have been a passage leading there, an entrance through which one could enter, but I guarantee you that it does not exist anymore. There is no use exploring in an attempt to discover this place, and neither is there any use in waiting for it to be revealed naturally over time, for the earth itself shall crumble before the rock encasing it corrodes. There have only ever been a select few people there in all eternity, and after they left, they ensured that no other would ever be able to return. Or rather, they ensured that nothing would escape. For you see, this place was not chosen to be a fortress, though it could be defined as such. It was selected and then designed to be a prison. Semicolon. To contain. The secrecy and impenetrability of this place was a measure not meant to withhold secrets, though it does. It was a seal meant to protect the entirety of life. Incarcerated in this archaic place of ancient stone and forgotten secrets is something far worse than anything mankind has dared to imagine. It is more dangerous than a supernova, more frightening than the most primordial legends, and more powerful than any god. Its motives are beyond the understanding of human minds, and its appearance is enough to make any blind man go mad. It's so scary that if you don't see it, you'll go crazy. To try and understand it would be like attempting to imagine a colour you have never seen. It is the inspiration behind demons and devils, the puppeteer of war and the seed of corruption, the absolute void of madness. For even from within its prison, it still reaches out, calling to us, bringing us ever closer to its malevolent grasp. There was another semicolon there, and I forgot to tell you. How it came to be is entirely unknown, a secret that it alone holds from mortal knowledge. It can be said, however, that it is not of our creation, and we are not of its. It is neither alive nor dead, only everlasting and infinite in its existence, and boundless in its putrid influence. Whether or not it will be our doom cannot be seen, though I suspect it will be. For no matter how far we venture from it, the footprint of its power will be forever embedded into our unconscious. And eons after humanity has become extinct, and the Earth has become nothing more than asteroids blindly wandering the universe, there it shall remain, semicolon, in its prison, residual for all eternity. It will forever be the sole survivor, yet never a victim, semicolon, only a lone destroyer with a purpose that shall be perpetually unknown and indiscernible to mere mortal minds. That's the end. That's the end of the story. I was expecting an exciting conclusion, like something profound, that maybe the creature is the human mind or something. Disappointed by that ending. That was I was expecting. The Batman was here. Very scary. Oh, nice job. Keep it up, my guy or girl. I don't discriminate. Haha. It's people arguing about how poignant it actually is in the comments. You're all so blind. Do you not see? It's already free. Its power is so great that while it's in prison, I don't know if this is the guy who wrote the story, but he's really getting into it. Does this qualify as a story? Powerful question. Powerful question. This might be the first non-story we've read. The first word collection. Oh, okay, this is a long one. And this is the last one for today. This is Clockwork. Your time is up. It's rated 7.56 out of 10, and its estimated reading time is a shocking 19 minutes. Yeah. Which means it'll take me an hour. Easy. Hang on. I need to check on something. Okay. There's a thing called the Bulwer Lytton Fiction Contest. This isn't the story. Which is a contest held annually and sponsored by the English department of San Jose State University in San Jose, California. Yes, I'm reading Wikipedia. Entrants are invited to compose the opening sentence to the worst of all possible novels. That is one which is deliberately bad. You have to make the worst first sentence you can possibly imagine. 2021's grand prize winner. A lecherous sunrise flaunted itself over a flatulent sea, ripping the obsidian bodice of night asunder with its rapacious fingers of gold, thus exposing her dusky bosom to the dawn's ogling stare. Excellent first sentence. 10 out of 10. That's a fucking good one. But, just wanted to submit. Doesn't feel as good now, but here's the first sentence of Clockwork. Your time is up. This is what sets you up for what you're about to experience. A little girl sat in her room. So I'm already spooked. Her messy brown hair was put into little pigtails as her hazel eyes stared at the door. The first sentence was just a little girl sat in her room, by the way. She hugged a stuffed giraffe close to her little body and listened closely to the loud yells of her father and mother. "I never should have had any damned kids!" screamed a loud, deep voice. "All I do is make messes and complain and draw on the walls." He was interrupted by the shrill, angry yell of the girl's mother. "The children, David! They don't know any better!" "Oh, fuck me, Mary Beth. I don't want to hear your bullshit excuses. I've had just about enough of them." "What do you plan to do about it?" The girl heard loud footsteps coming toward her room and she hugged her giraffe closer. It seems like a little girl's about to be kicked. I'm not sure if we want to actually just move on to another one. She survives. The door opened violently. But yeah, content warning. And in the doorway stood her large, infuriated, overweight father. Why? Why? In one of his meat hands, he held a large textbook. The meaty hands, but I liked him holding it in one of his meat hands better. David, stop it, screamed her mother. But the father ignored his wife's pleading cries. He grabbed the little girl harshly by the collar, and she screamed and kicked, trembling in fear. The girl's father held up the textbook. This is for drawing on my fucking walls. I thought she got kicked. She just got grabbed. It's fine. This might be straying into... Nah, we're moving on. This is straying into subject matter we don't wanna. We don't wanna. This is the music in the woods now. 7.53 out of 10. Oh my god, it's a brick. It's fine though. We'll just... We're getting out of there and pulling the plug. We got the meat hands, that's fine, we can go. Yeah, it seemed edgy, the woods, stuff happening. I was worried from the first bit, and then I scrolled down and it got worse, and I don't want to... I don't want to read it, so we're moving on. What's all the... Let's just read some more Bulwer Lytton contest winners. Sorry, I'm just reading stuff. Oh my god. Are these real? Some of these that get from real things, and some of these are. I'm just laughing at things you can't see now. I'm sorry, this is bad. This is bad. I'm a bad streamer. I'm doing bad streams. Despite an exhaustive search, rescuers were unable to locate young Christopher Robin in the 100-acre wood before hypothermia took him, and the animals he once called friends descended upon his corpse like a silly old bear upon a pot of honey. Little Timmy suffered from claustrophobia, the fear of being trapped in a closet with Santa Claus. Claustrophobia. Even though Bambi the deer grew up to become a sleek and powerful 10-point buck, the other deer frequently chided him about his name, which was a perfectly fine name for a cocktail waitress, but not so much for a male deer. You can laugh if you want. Of me just laughing at things you can't see. Oh, crime and detective category. The Big Joe Palooka murder wasn't just another killing, another homicide, another manslaughter, another slaying, another hit, another whack, another rubbing out, another bumping off, another assassination, another liquidation, another extermination, another execution. But it was nothing new for Johnny Synonymous, obsessive-compulsive crime fighter. Johnny's synonymous. The obsessive compulsive crime fighter. The cat purred like a Geiger counter beside the fireplace, which crackled like gunfire, which reminded Detective Greenwich of his service in the Ukraine and the Latvia. This feline being the only witness to the murder of the wet nurse and, unless purring counts, he wasn't talking. Detective Hill raised his service pistol and pointed it at their suspect, a master of disguise hiding in plain sight as a living statue in Central Park. "Freeze!" he called out. Sorry. I just apologized for reading that, which shows that it was... He got me. Upon his death, Van Helsing wrote, "This vexes me still today. With no mirror able to cast his cursed reflection, how did Dracula comb his hair so perfectly every time and achieve such a clean, close shave that brought the babes in truckloads?" Okay, let's... Don't want to read this one either because it's a break. I'm going to go on to another one. Ella? Let's find one that's about video games. I feel like it's safer there. I think I've been getting a bad batch. Oh right, I forgot you can't search anything on this website. You end up in the... You end up here. You end up in this mess. No matter what thing I... Jen is now playing Risk of Rain. Video game. None of these seem like video games. Ben Drowned is video games. Razor games. Let's go. Why not? There was a thing called beta test, or I should search beta test? Oh, this is 31 minutes. Let's search beta test. 31 minutes is going to take me 4 hours. Beta test written by Stephen Miller. Science fiction and aliens. Technology and the internet. The deep web. Video games and gaming. This is perfect. Reading time 16 minutes. Also... has an art. Good spot, Kish. My one was terrible and took 31 minutes. Whoa! It's like the future over here. You saved us, Kish. You saved the whole operation. This is rated 8.96 out of 10. Estimated reading time of 16 minutes. Roxy's Lounge. It was a sort of dimly lit, mid-century styled bar that was too classy for me by half. In the real world, it's the kind of place I'd have gone to get shit-faced on overpriced cocktails at a game developers conference after party. But that was in the old days. Back then when there was still a studio to foot the bill. Thankfully for me, here inside the simulation, money was of no concern. You accidentally did a mod thing good. It wasn't just the promise of inebriation that led me through Roxy's neon entrance that night. It was a name. A name I'd stared at in the user list, incredulously, before walking my ass here from across town. This is a Klein. Klein wrote this. Klein was here. It can't be him, I thought. When the hell did they jack him in? Oh, Jesus Christ. The words escaped beneath my breath. The cringe that followed could not be stifled. All I could do was avert my gaze to the ebony hardwood floor and let the involuntary expression run its course. When I unbuttoned my face, there he was, sitting at the bar. Mad Cow. I waved away my holographic display. The translucent overlay of usernames, locations, and notes shrunk and vanished into my peripheral vision. What remained was my old lead programmer, wearing a cow print suit and fedora. What remained was my old lead programmer, wearing a cow print suit and fedora. The infamous cow print suit and fedora, looking as ugly as it was expensive. He was hitting on the bartender. I felt aftershocks of cringe return. "You son of a bitch," I said as I approached close enough to be heard over the murmur of other patrons. He spun around in the bar stool and sized me up behind a pair of ruby-tinted aviator glasses. He made an exaggerated frown. "Tell me you don't look that old in real life," he said. "Life comes at you fast. You, on the other hand," I gestured at his entire outfit, "are apparently 13 years old again." He scoffed and reached out to grab my hand. The handshake quickly became a pat on the back, then becoming a full-blown hug. I hadn't seen Lucas, aka Mad Cow, in nearly 10 years. Already memories were flooding back of never-ending crunch nights at Darkroom Entertainment, our game studio. Memories of passing out at our desks, on couches, or occasionally, the floor. It all seemed like a lifetime ago, now. I took a seat next to him and signaled the bartender. "What's the fun of living in a simulation?" he said. "If you don't peacock it up a bit. Have you even played with the closet options yet?" You look like a confused pimp. Anyway, what's with this about living in a simulation, buddy? I just work here. And when you got me this job, you didn't say I'd have to work with you. You think I'd pass on this sort of opportunity just because He stopped. But I could finish the thought for him. Because I'm still a well-paid programmer with a career. The pause turned awkward, until the bartender broke the silence. "Is this guy giving you a hard time?" she asked. I met her gaze, and must have held it a moment too long. She cocked an eyebrow. Yeah, I finally said. "He's an asshole." She chuckled, and shot Lucas a playful grin. "Please try not to scare away my customers, Mr. Mad Cow," she said. "1,000 pardons, Miss Roxy," Lucas said, and leaned into the bar. "Say, could I convince you to whip up my usual and a gin and tonic for my colleague here?" Good memory. "Sure thing. What sort of work do the two of you do together?" she asked. "We're quality assurance," Lucas winked at me. "We're probably the best paid beta testers in the world." "This world, at least," I said. But that only earned me a slightly confused look from Roxy, as she got to work mixing our drinks. "Isn't she something?" Lucas said when she'd stepped out of earshot. "I've been giving her my own personal Turing test all evening." "I'll bet you have." I shook my head. "You know there's an easier way to tell if she's real." I waved my holographic display back on and pointed to the purple diamond that appeared over all simulated characters' heads in the overlay. A new translucent box rolled out beside Roxy with her name and background information. I waved it away. "There's no fun in that," Lucas said. "And I'm being serious. This sort of thing, this level of AI, this is the type of stuff I used to dream of working on, back when I was at Darkroom. She really is perfect. Everything here is, in case you haven't noticed. And do you know what the worst part is?" What's that? I mumbled, staring as Roxy twirled ice cubes around a highball glass. The worst part is they didn't need me to code it. I always thought it would be you and I that built a place like this, he sighed. At least we're still part of it, I guess. Roxy presented our drinks, garnished with lemons and sprigs of rosemary. Lucas took his with an appreciative nod and sipped. Even the goddamn alcohol's perfect, he said. Anyway, how's the testing coming along on your end? My reply was cut short by a crash of shattering glass, then screaming. It was guttural, so intense and unexpected that my concentration was immediately broken. I felt a surge of panic, like ice water down my spine. I spun around and saw the lounge table flipped on its side. The man convulsing on the floor. A woman rushed to his side, but he grabbed her arms, hurling her backwards. "Stay the fuck away from me!" he yelled as she staggered back. I set my drink down too hard, sloshing gin onto the bar. With my hand free, I flicked my overlay back on, confirming that the people were also human testers. Lucas was already on his feet, rushing over to help. I followed after. "I can't breathe!" the man screamed. "I can't fucking breathe! Wake me up! None of this is real! It's freezing! I'm drowning in the fucking pod! Let me out!" "What happened?" Lucas asked the woman. She looked frightened. "It was fine a minute ago," she sniffed. "Suddenly he thinks he's dying in real life. That I'm not actually real. Because I'm not feeling it too, I guess." "Sounds like ass," Lucas said, staring down at the man. "Ass?" I blurted out, stupidly. "No, idiot. Do you even read the forms they had us sign? Acute solipsism syndrome. Acute solipsism syndrome. It's a potential risk of total immersion." Lucas knelt down beside the man, who was now shivering, with his head propped uncomfortably against the leg of a lounge chair. "Hey, buddy," Lucas said. "You're gonna be alright. You're not drowning. Your breathing's just fine in real life. They told us to watch out for these symptoms, remember? It's nothing serious. You need to get up so you can report it." The techs would be helping him if there was really a problem, I said to the other tester. Came out more like a question than a statement. She gulped and nodded. I saw a familiar face over her shoulder. "Mara?" I don't know what this is, but it's better in than the other things. Mara was sitting back at the bar. Her long dark hair framed a strange expression, something like pity, as she watched the commotion. I thought for sure she'd step in to help. The simulation was her project, after all. But instead, she took what appeared to be a martini from Roxy and drank it in a single gulp. After that, she said something to Roxy I couldn't hear, stood up, and left. I'm sure it's building. Don't worry about it. "You're really here," Lucas reassured our colleague, still playing the role of paramedic. "Try remembering how you got here." I looked back at Mara's empty seat. Roxy was wiping down the counter. I felt a pit of unease settle in my stomach. "Remember how you got here," I thought. The elevator ride was so long that I nodded off. I woke up startled, like I'd been falling, and shrank with embarrassment. If the other people packed into the freight car had noticed, they spared me any acknowledgement. The only one looking at me was my own bloodshot reflection in the elevator's chrome paneling. Jesus, I looked like shit. Fucking jet lag. The real horror was jet lag. But how long had we been descending? I'd barely finished unpacking when the Foundation staff knocked on my door. They ushered me downstairs with the other prospective testers, into the basement of the Mountain Lodge. From there, we boarded the elevator. It was minutes ago, but it already felt like yesterday. I giggled stupidly, remembering the excruciatingly long load times in most of Darkroom's games. It became something of an inside joke to trap our players inside elevators as a new level was loading. It was a necessary evil to maintain immersion. Some of our more masochistic fans even found it endearing. "So, is this where you've hidden the loading screen?" I said to break the ice. No response. Either these weren't gamers, or they were too jet-lagged past... Or they too were jet-lagged past the point of zombification. Or maybe I'm just not funny. The next bit's no and comma, and I was like, no, there's no way, I'm the most funny. Everyone says I'm very funny. No, that's much further down, a woman finally said from beside the controls. She faced me and smiled knowingly. Well, at least she looked to be well rested. Flowing black hair dropped down her lab coat to the edges of her name tag. Dr. Mara Drosty. It's getting really cold, a man said. I realized I could see my breath and wrapped my arms together. Has to be cold for the computers to function, Mara said. That's why all the servers are kept so far underground. Saves the Foundation a fortune in maintenance and cooling costs. Hydrate and stretch, everyone. I feel, I do stretch very quietly, but I do a big stretch. She's not getting as much for the same amount of points. You could make V stretch and she'd sound like she was dying. Realized you were gobbling it. Fair. The elevator chimed. When the doors opened, whatever was left of my grogginess vanished in a wave of awe. The noises are horrible. Sounds like all of the bonds are breaking. It's awful. Lucas, what the hell have you gotten me into? We stepped out into what felt at first like an infinite black void punctuated with sharp points of white light. As my eyes adjusted, I could make out wires suspending the lamps from catwalks further above us. As bright and numerous as the lights were, they could barely scrape the volume of the massive underground cavern. Only the faintest impression of light reached the walls, just enough that I could discern the wall of marbled stone in the distance. Up above the crisscross of man-made catwalks, the vaulted ceiling peaked in utter darkness. It's possible. She is from space. Maybe bonds work differently up there. Welcome to the bunker, Mara said. She beckoned us down a path of lampposts further into the cavern. It looked as though someone had teleported the guts of some research facility deep into the mountain. Cold steel and concrete were fused to the natural stone with practicality that couldn't conceal the strange beauty of the caves. We passed through an imposing bulkhead door and across a bridge that spanned a lake of water, gleaming like black glass. This is a lot better written than all the other ones we've seen today. The Foundation really built this place? Said a woman, awestruck. Must have cost a fortune. Not exactly, Mara said without breaking stride. Actually, people have been building this place for thousands of years. Ancient people explored these grottos and discovered their salt deposits. They mined it for centuries, all through the Dark Ages, until it was sealed. Why was it sealed? I asked. The records are unclear about that. What we do know is that the Soviet government excavated it to use as a fallout shelter in the event of nuclear war. We have them to thank for most of the infrastructure, including the geothermal extractors. After the Cold War, it was sealed up again, until we purchased it. So, to finish answering the first question, yes, it did cost a fortune. I followed along with the tour, wondering just who was investing so much capital into the Foundation for the sake of virtual reality technology. Sure, we'd have loved to get our hands on it at Darkroom, but even at the height of our success, we were in no position to buy a fucking underground Russian base. Something didn't add up. Still, the pay was on a scale barely fathomable to someone who teaches game design to college students. And there was something else, almost nostalgic. Felt like whatever this was, it was a chance to get in on the ground floor of the next new thing. If this proved to be groundbreaking, maybe I could make a name for myself in the industry again. We came at last to a second massive vault, clearly reshaped by some heavy machinery into a smooth, perfectly rectangular warehouse. Fluorescent lights shone through gated catwalks that ran above dozens of stainless steel cylinders, each of them barely larger than a person. The soft thrum of machinery reverberated throughout the room. Technicians scurried between computer terminals along the outer walls. Come! Mara beckoned our group up the stairs onto the catwalks. The first group have already been at it for a week. Have a look. Others will be joining you inside the simulation. From atop the walkway, we could see down into the cylinders. Many were empty. The rest held people floating upright in some kind of liquid. They wore breathing masks, not unlike scuba regulators, and appeared to be unconscious. The pods are total sensory deprivation, Mara continued. Closest to suspended animation. In fact, in that state, your brain can interpret sensory stimuli from the simulation as a genuine substitute for, well, what you're experiencing now. Mara looked down at the occupied tanks. They're in a whole other world now. The town we've constructed for you to test is just the beginning. There's really no limit to the worlds we can build. When Mara looked up, she seemed to read the expressions on our faces. Everything's perfectly safe, she added quickly. We have a full medical team on site 24/7. I've been immersed several times myself, and we'll be joining you all on the inside. Does anyone have any concerns? We're probably already inside, a woman mused. Everyone just slowly turned to her, and she explained. Think of what we're on the threshold of here. If we can ever truly run simulations of reality, and there's only one true reality, then the odds are that we're in some form of simulated reality right now. Someone objected, and the group seemed to explode immediately into a deep philosophical debate on the topic. The term quantum Hall effect was spat back and forth a bit. I more or less capped out at high school physics and tuned the discussion out. I just stared at the half-naked people below, floating in some kind of lucid dream. Fuck it, I thought. What have I got to lose? There was no hell until we built it. It's what Mara had said to Roxy during our colleague's panic attack. I'd asked Roxy out of curiosity after the situation had calmed down. Do you know what she meant by that? I inquired. No idea, Roxy said, and then asked if I wanted another drink. I really should get back to work, I declined. Alright then, good luck with the beta test, she winked at me. I left Roxy's alone to continue my nighttime exploration. There were no rules to this job, per se. We just had to spend our time in this place, however we saw fit, and report any flaws in the experience. I decided that to give myself some structure, I'd pace out the boundaries of the town. It was modelled as a quaint little resort settlement in the mountains. The street outside Roxy's followed a bend around the edge of town. Storefronts faced a low cobblestone wall on the other side of the road. Beyond that, the hill sloped down into a procedurally generated forest of pine trees that stretched out to a foggy horizon. It was clearly based on the real terrain above the bunker, but the town itself was a work of fiction. I strolled from streetlight to streetlight, dragging my fingers along the rough texture of the stone wall. A mild breeze rustled the silhouettes of the trees and brushed gently over me. I closed my eyes and breathed the fresh, evergreen scent in deeply. Every minutiae of sensation was as real as anything I'd ever experienced. I daydreamed about the generation of games that would surely spawn from this technology. Even Darkroom's most immersive VR titles would seem primitive and obsolete going forward. Suddenly, sharply, the breeze became uncomfortably cold. Some primal sense told me to snap out of the daydream. Something was wrong. Mara's cryptic words came back to me. I realized I'd been walking in darkness. The streetlights were out. I turned around, confused, to see I'd passed half a dozen blown-out lights without noticing it. The storefronts, too, were vacant and dark. I wondered if I'd stumbled into some unfinished area. The sound of the wind had changed, too. No, not the wind. The trees. Behind me, where the streetlights still worked, the trees stirred in the gentle breeze, but in the dark area they stood perfectly still, as if frozen. I was already thinking of how to word this in the bug report when I realised I wasn't alone. Up ahead, leaning against a broken streetlight, was the shadow of a man. I walked towards him, hoping for some validation that he too was seeing the same thing. But I hesitated halfway between my streetlight and his. Something was wrong with him. He was twitching strangely, as if caught in the throes of some spasm. For a moment I thought of the tester at Roxy's, convulsing in pain. But no, this was different. This man was sobbing. "The cold got in!" he wept in a raspy voice, seemingly to himself. I was about to ask if he needed help when the clouds parted, bathing us both in moonlight, My blood ran cold. The old man was withered and emaciated, little more than a skeleton. What have you got against skeletons, Arthur? He wore nothing but the same neoprene shorts and nylon harness we were all given in real life before entering the pods. The vertebrae of his spine jutted sickeningly against the pale, glistening flesh of his back. In disbelief, I waved for my holographic overlay. Nothing happened. I needed to know if this was real, if he was real. I waved again, and then again. It wasn't working. He's a skeleton who got skin all over him. Gross. Too, I'm surprised when I see someone be a skeleton who is not a skeleton. Impossible, I thought, and kept trying. My frantic gestures must have gotten the old man's attention, because he finally raised his head. Long strands of white, wispy hair parted to reveal the same breathing apparatus we all wore. Where his oxygen tube would be was only a torn, tattered rubber scrap. His bloodshot eyes opened with shock. They fixed on me with the same surprise and horror that I must have been reflecting back at him. I could hear his tortured breathing intensify. "You shouldn't be here!" he finally snarled. He lunged towards me. Stupefied, I was too late to react. His wet, freezing hands found my neck in a choking grasp. "You need to wake up!" he growled, and tightened his grip. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't scream, only panic. I tried to pry his hands off my throat, but they were too slick with that same goopy liquid from the pods. My hands slipped down his wiry arms, and that's when I noticed it. That stupid fucking tattoo. Death Squirrel. A squirrel holding a katana in shitty black ink. Mad Cow had gotten me so drunk at the launch party for our first game that he was able to convince me to get that damn thing. It was my own alter ego on my forearm, to match his. It was my own alter ego on my forearm, to match his. And there it was, blurry and faded, but unmistakable. On this skin and bones man. On this skin and bones man! He had my tattoo. I stared at his face, even as I struggled to breathe. The recognition washed over me in a wave of cold terror that swept my sanity away. It was me. He was me. The pain is unbearable. The skin and bones man is unbearable. The absurdity of my situation gave me a sudden burst of strength, dreamlike vigor, and I hurled the ancient doppelganger off. It staggered, and I gasped for air. Just when I thought it would charge at me again, something flashed in the distance. Suddenly, just for a moment, the sky was brighter than daytime. The abrupt brilliance stunned the creature, and it stared, horrified at the source beyond the horizon. "No!" It whimpered at the lingering glow of the explosion. I seized the moment and ran. As I did, a sound like the crack of thunder smashed through everything. More explosions burst across the horizon like lightning. Every illuminating flash revealed the town as something else. Shattered ruins, desolate and decayed. "They never finish it!" the creature screamed. "They'll never finish it!" Its cries became an incoherent wail of rage and agony, and then disappeared entirely in the roaring boom. When at last I made it back to the well-lit area, the entire cacophony ceased. There was only the gentle sound of the breeze, and a slight tinnitus in my ear. My overlay finally responded. Tinnitus is the thing that gives you ringing in your ear, right? You just said there was a ringing in my ear. I kept running as I searched Mara's location on the user list. I found her on the rooftop deck of the tallest building in town. She was sitting on the ledge, smoking a cigarette and sipping wine from a crystal stem. High-class hooligans, wine glass to the brim, ride with my girl and her fine-ass bougie friends. Doesn't say that. She greeted me without taking her eyes off the panorama of the town laid out before her. That I was a frantic, gibbering wreck, gasping to catch my breath, didn't seem to faze her. I tried to explain what just happened. She only faced me to refill a glass from a bottle resting beside her. Her wind-tousled hair framed that same pitying expression she wore at the bar. What the fuck was that thing? I demanded. She shrugged dismissively and turned away again. She seemed to be staring at the shadowy part of town I just fled from. I'm losing the ability to talk. Let me go get some water. I'll be right back. What I got? I don't have a dino soda. I wish I had dino soda. Okay, I can't remember where I was, so let's just go back through the last bit. I can't drink any form of dinosaur. She shrugged dismissively and turned away again. She seemed to be staring at the shadowy part of town I'd just fled from. An anomaly, she said. Her lack of concern was exasperating. Hadn't she been listening? Didn't she care? I want out, I said firmly. Wake me up now. She took a drag off her cigarette, then flicked ashes off the side of the roof. I'm afraid that isn't possible, she said. I took a deep breath, trying to contain my anger. Dr. Drost, I said slowly. Mara, I'm sleeping in one of your pods. I know you can revive me. She seemed to find this amusing, but there was something else cracking in her persona, as if she were trying to cope with something herself. Was she drunk? I already did revive you, she finally said. A long time ago. What are you talking about? I said incredulously. We're right here. We literally just started. This instance just started, she said, as if she were clarifying the situation. My confused expression must have told her otherwise. It's all so lifelike, isn't it? She continued, gesturing across the entire landscape. We had you test us to thank for that. It was an iterative process. Every time we reran the situation, your experiences helped us tune it just a little bit more. We got a little closer to perfection every time. That doesn't make any sense, I gritted my teeth. Mara was supposed to be the one professional we could all rely on. She was our lifeline. We trusted her. Now she was spouting nonsense. How can I be in this simulation right now talking to you if you've already woke me up? Because you're an instance too, she said. A copy of your original mind. She finished her cigarette and tossed it away. That's why you had to be in those pods as long as you were. A frozen scan, we called it. Why? I began to mutter, but I felt a shortness of breath. I was beginning to feel dizzy, disassociated. This couldn't be right. It was the entire purpose of the Foundation, she said. It's one thing to build a perfect virtual reality. Our benefactors wanted us to prove it was possible to upload minds to it. They wanted to live forever, on the inside. She went on, but I couldn't follow her jargon. Something about discovering the neural correlates of consciousness? No, I cut her off in a snarl. My head was swimming now. I mean, if this is all true, why are you telling me this? Not like it matters anymore, she shrugged. Every time the simulation iterates, it deletes the previous instance and begins again with fresh copies. Every time. My thoughts flashed back to those long nights at Dark Room, sitting at my desk, pacing the hallways, crashing on the couch in the break room, all the while strung out over the latest build of our game. The polished final product was the result of countless iteration. Meetings at the whiteboard, debugging and redesign, again and again, version after version. That was just to make a video game, but something as complex as this place? How many versions had it taken to get this far? Dozens? Hundreds? Yeah, rich weirdos would. So you've murdered us, I said, confronting her gaze. Over and over again. I suppose that's one way of looking at it, Mara said. I wanted to scream, what other way is there? But knew it was futile. There was nothing for me to do here with all my anger and confusion. I decided to leave Mara alone and do the only thing I could. which was to march back to Roxy's and get mind-numbingly drunk as soon as possible. I was about to head downstairs when I remembered something and turned back to her. Why did you say what you did back at Roxy's? What? It was her turn to look confused. You said there was no hell until we built it. This place is so perfect, why did you say that? She shook her head and looked again to the dark, static part of town. The anomalies, she said. You're not the first to see one, but I don't remember them. Not from previous iterations. I should be able to remember. She hung her head down and closed her eyes. I wasn't lying back at the bunker when I told you I'd been immersed before. I'm as much a copy as you are, the only difference is that I scan in regularly. I should remember every previous version, unless I'm not around to scan in anymore. She took in a deep breath and shuddered. And a glitch on that scale doesn't just happen randomly or overnight. It's a sign that the hardware is failing. Has been failing for some time. But our servers were custom built for billionaires that want to live forever. They're kept deep underground in perfect conditions. They could run for 1,000 years. Maybe longer. If nobody were left to turn them off, I said, connecting the dots. She turned to me with fresh tears streaking her face. I thought of the bunker. The frigid void of empty caverns deep beneath the mountains. I thought of terminals flashing, attended only by withered skeletons. Geothermal extractors whirred behind ancient and ominous Soviet bulkheads, sealed now and forever against some outside apocalypse. And somewhere deeper still, within some still-running computer, my own long-dead ghost was still trying in vain to wake me up from a simulation stuck in an infinite loop. Out past Mara's gaze, the dark patch of town seemed to grow larger, the ink-black tendrils of desolation spreading from one streetlight to the next. The wind became chill, and with it came a distant sound, faint but familiar, like the wails of something lost and afraid. I waved open my holographic display and began a bug report. Ass. That wasn't really a creepypasta. It were alright. I didn't mind it. It was just a weird sci-fi story. That is going to be the last one for today. Are there any other bolt we're letting? Oh dang, there's a category for vile puns. Yeah, that was good. Eh. These puns are too smart for me. After commandeering the Black Dog Saloon for a day and a half to lay out every map, zoning ordinance, and land deed in the territory, and after checking and rechecking their cartographic calculations, Tumbleweed Mulligan and Johnny Trigger McAllister were forced to admit that there might just be room in this town for both of them. Okay. I'm gonna have to. The end of stream's just gonna be watching me read out. I'm sorry. This was fun. I like doing this. Not really got anyone on. Y'all got anyone on? I do them every now and then. These are fun. There's a limited amount of creepypastas we can take in at one time. That is then. What a shame. We got no one to raid. We'll have to go to Dot. Freaking love Dot. Dot's amazing. Dot's way like. Dot's a big channel. They're doing fine. They're just really good, and they always say hi. They're very polite when you raid over with 3 people. Yeah, that's where we're going. I can't really show the fire while I'm doing this, though, can I? Thanks for being here. This is fun. I am literally raiding over with 3 people. Alright, see you, gang.